Oh, I guess music's on a delay today. There we go.
Uh-huh. Are we talking?
All right, welcome to Let Freedom Ring. Got a very exciting episode today. An old friend of mine, now living in Hong Kong, Vinny Lauria. Vinny, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. It is amazing to hang out with you. Even via, you know, the podcast, but like it's just great to see you, man.
Yeah, you too. It's been some time. I'm trying to think. Maybe it's been 10 years.
Yeah, something like that. And
You
and
know,
I
so
mean, like it's always like it's just been crazy. Like I was in, away from New Hampshire for a while, or for quite a while. So like got to see you here and there, maybe out having a beer or something, but like we haven't got to chill and chat in a while. So I'm
yeah.
glad to do it.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. But let's get to know you for the audience a little bit here. Where are you from originally? Where are you from now?
So as you very well know, and some people might not know, I'm from Nashua, New Hampshire. True, proud Nashua boy right here. Uh, Best city to live in America. When we were growing up there, 2 years. What was it, like 89 or something, or like
I think it was like
90?
it was like 87 in 97 if I'm not correct. I definitely know 97 cuz I remember that.
Always in the top three for like
Yeah.
the entire time that we were all growing up there. It was in the top three. So I mean, I rep that to people out here in Hong Kong. This is where I live now, Hong Kong. I rep that to people out here. I'm like, no, you don't get it. Nashua is and was the greatest city to live in America. So I'm just saying. Yeah.
And it's still up there. And big shout out to Triple H, Nashua's own Triple H. He just announced his retirement yesterday from in-ring action
Mm.
after some health complications. But no, very cool. Has it been kind of like when you first got there, was it like culture shock a little bit? Like I've never been to Hong Kong, but I do it is very Americanized, if I'm not mistaken.
Westernized would be kind of a good way to put it in a lot
Okay.
of ways. But a lot's changed over the past 10 years. There's just so much. I've been here for 11 years now. Yeah, a little over 11 years. Coming up on the anniversary. So culture shock is is an understatement. I had never been to Asia in my life. I got off the plane I basically went New York to Hong Kong. Got off the plane on the opening night of the restaurant that I was getting ready to open here. I was 25 years old, by myself. Again, like I said, never been here. Actually, I'll give you a little brief story about it. I got on the plane in New York. Uh, I had a layover in Shanghai, mainland China, right? And Hong Kong, when you said it's westernized, it's because it was owned by the British, colonized and owned by the British for 100 years. And that tenure ended recently, right? So like it has like there's a lot of British, like the harbor is called Victoria Harbor, for example. There's like a lot of British influence here. Um, and tons of Brits that live here, amongst other countries. But anyway, so I got to Shanghai for the layover, and our flight came in late. And I wake up on the plane after a, what was it, 12, 14, 13-hour flight for the layover, thinking, getting ready to get on the next plane to go to Hong Kong. Going to be in Hong Kong and home, my new home, right? And we missed everyone on our plane. We had missed our flight, our connecting flight.
Oh no.
So it was the most bizarre scenario. So like I had no idea what was going on. Nobody spoke English. Everyone's speaking Mandarin, and this is like it's such a foreign. Here they speak Cantonese. There they speak Mandarin. It was such a like people are yelling. Everyone's pissed off, and I'm like, what's going on? I don't know what's going on. Finally, I find somebody that speaks English. They're explaining to me what's happening is what's happening is that we missed our flight. There's not another flight until the next morning, so they're bringing us to a hotel. So we all get in a bus, get shipped to a hotel. I ended up in a room with this dude that I didn't, because the hotel didn't have enough rooms, in a room for 3 hours with this guy that I had, this dude that barely spoke a lick of English, and all that was open was like a little convenience store, what our version of Kirkpatrick's Corner would be,
Okay.
and it was like literally that was up for everybody that doesn't know. That was literally up the street from like the halfway point between Dan's and my house when we were kids. Little awesome convenience store.
Still running strong.
Oh, beautiful. And and it's a special place. Um, and yet, so all that was open was this little convenience store. So I'm eating these like fish sausages and these snacks that have not a sign of English on it at all. I'm just like, all right, I guess we're going in. This is how we get over the culture shock. So that was it. And then the next morning, got on the plane, arrived to Hong Kong in the afternoon. I was in the restaurant that night and not working quite yet, but kind of doing the thing. So
No, that's got to be right off the bat. Just not even easing you in. So, uh,
terrifying.
very
But
cool. We want to just know. So we asked this to every guest. What are three things that everybody should know about you?
um, well, let's see. Those of you all that know me here, and as long as I've been a professional chef and in the restaurant industry, that I'd say one of the main things about my life is that it revolves around what I kind of realize is what fulfills me is and makes me really happy is my life kind of revolves around taking care of people, making sure people are well fed, or having a good time, happy, and they're fulfilled by spending time with me or in my establishments or whatever it is. So I'd say that's one. Um, Kind of going hand in hand with that is that I just am kind of obsessed with traveling. Like I've been to 30 some odd, I don't know, somewhere in the mid high 30 countries, um, traveling around, and I just love to go forage, eat, drink, meet people, learn about culture. I almost kind of am obsessed. I have become obsessed with like learning about food and culture, and I think the most fun way to do that is through traveling. So I do a ton of that when borders are open and it's easier, which they're not here.
Sounds like Anthony Bourdain a little bit.
He's one of my favorite writers ever, one of my favorite presenters ever. I just like I idolized him, and I mean I still idolize him, and I always thought that I'd like meet him and hang out with him at some point. Unfortunately, we all know what happened to him, and rest in peace. Great. I know as far as I'm concerned, one of the most aware and smart, individuals. But love it. Um, let's see what else I have right now. I have I have six restaurants, bars and restaurants, uh, in a couple different countries. I've opened restaurants in 5 different countries since I started cooking.
Awesome.
Really,
And what's the
really.
name of? Because I did read your biography and we had it in the promotion. What's the name of the? Because there's like a group that you are part of
So
that owns these, or
yeah, it's called Red Sauce Hospitality,
okay.
and it is. I mean, we're red sauce because Italian American red sauce. It's what I do, and it's me and a couple partners, some of my best friends and partners. We've been working together in partners for now 10 years, and we have a restaurant called Posto Publico, which was the first in the group, and then we have Feeney's, two different Feeney's, um, one in the Central District and one in the District Wan Chai. We have Frank's Italian American Social Club, which is everyone knows it as like a kind of rowdy, all vinyl hip hop bar. The downstairs and upstairs is a little bit more of a high end Italian restaurant, Italian American restaurant. And then we have Frank's Records, which is a record store on the top floor of the Frank's building, the Frank's Tower, where we do fresh seafood, oysters, and preserved seafood, as well as highballs, martinis, cocktails, and sell records and have, you know, guys and girls spinning awesome stuff from hip hop to funk, soul, blues, jazz, reggae, rock, you name it. Um, and then I have a restaurant in Singapore uh, uh, with Young Master, my favorite beer local brewery in Hong Kong. We opened a restaurant and bar together in Singapore called the Guild.
Nice, nice. Now, I do want to get to the next question, getting to know you, but I do have some follow-up questions there. Um, During the pandemic, I mean, are we past that in Hong Kong? Because I mean, I feel like things pretty normal here in New Hampshire. Pandemic wise, restaurant industry. I know it hurt a lot here in the States. What's that kind of look like during the pandemic in Hong Kong or in
I
in
will.
in Asia, I should say, as a total?
So right now, for those of you in the U.S. of A. in the Eastern Time Zone, it is 8:15 p.m. and it's 8 a.m. there, right? 8:15 there a.m. And here it's 8:15 p.m. Saturday night. Usually I would be in the thick of busy service right now. So as an example, what the since the there's a zero COVID policy. The government decided to have a zero COVID policy here in Hong Kong, and it is zero infection rate, and it was basically impossible. So we had this massive boom, and once there started to be an uptick in cases, uh, the government shut down all restaurants after 6 p.m.
Okay.
So obviously, that's the restaurant industry's bread and butter is dinner service and late night, drinking. So it has been awful, honestly. To be perfectly honest, it's been incredibly difficult. I've seen tons of my friends' restaurants close. I mean, we've been going through just hell trying to keep our teams supported as much as we possibly can and keep the doors of our restaurant open, really, So that's where we're at right now. And it's been rough. It's been 3.5 months, a little over 3 months, started around mid January, and hopefully it'll end in mid April. They're saying April 21st. We can hope, So
Yeah, I mean, we did see a lot of, even in Nashua, a lot of the restaurants are still there, but a couple did end up having to close during the pandemic, and it was just kind of like it's been a rough 2 years, for
absolutely.
a lot of industries. So, but no, but good stuff there.
I was
Now I
in
want
I was in New York when it all broke out in New York, and when it was the epicenter. It was the highest. It was the number one cases per capita, and naturally I got COVID then. And
Oh,
then
really?
it just got surpassed by Hong Kong right now, highest cases per capita, and I got COVID a few weeks back as well. So I was one of the lucky ones to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Both of the two highest cases per capita and got it both times. So
How did you do with COVID? Like, I've had people on the show that have gotten, and some were like, "Yeah, I was in the hospital." Others are like, "I didn't even know I had it." Did COVID did it have an impact on you, or did you
it
get
was
it?
definitely rough. It was
Okay.
rough, but like I remember the first time I got it being like watching the news and and watching New York One being like shacked up in my apartment and being like, all right, look, I'm seeing body bags out in the streets and all this stuff is
Jeez.
just awful, right? And I'm like, I'm gonna be fine. You know, I'm I was 36 at that time, right? 36 years old. I'm gonna make it through this, take care of myself, do the right things. And then the same thing with this bout of COVID. It was rough. It was like a severe, terrible flu, but like, at the same time, I was like, I'm gonna make it. So I mean, I know it's different for everybody, and everyone's in a different physical state, and it's been, oh, man, it's just rough.
Yeah, I mean, my mom recently got it, but and she's
So,
68. But it felt like when she got it around this time period, I wasn't as nervous as I would have been like in 2020. Like if
mm,
anybody I knew got it in 2020 that was over the age of 50, I would have been freaking out.
yeah,
But she was sick for a couple days, and I mean, she had the vaccination and everything at this point, so
right.
she it didn't have. she was fine after like a couple days. But I do have a question I ask everybody on the show. The theme of the show is Let Freedom Ring. And being an American means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Now, you've been out of the country, well, not out, you've been living in another country for 11 years. So you might have a very different perspective on this than some other people. What does it mean to you to be an American?
Ooh, man, I'll tell you what. I mean, I think the name of the show says it. It's freedom has an entirely different meaning to me than it did when I took it for granted growing up. Um, I've seen some absolutely horrifying and crazy things since I've been here. The past few years here has been treacherous. I mean, it's been amazing in a lot of ways, and it's also been terrifying in a lot of ways. With the Hong Kong people protesting against the government, and um, you know what China is to Hong Kong and the world, and being from America and being an American, it's something that we definitely take for granted, not having traveled a whole lot and moved around a lot, and I just have such a great appreciation for the amount of freedom that we have and the things that we can literally say. I'm skeptical and kind of stumbling over my words a little bit because it's an honest fear. What I say is, it's on the internet and it can be picked up, and anything can happen. So it's a whole other story in the US. You don't ever have that fear whatsoever.
Nope, we've blasted presidents on here. We've politicians, all of them. You can do that. So um, I'd say in America, though, it's not fear of being penalized, what you say, by the government, but there are consequences that happen for some people by uh, the majority sometimes
Right.
So,
Right.
but I do want to talk about your career here
Hmm.
as an international chef. Um, how'd you decide you wanted to become a chef? Now, I know that I think it started for you pretty young, at least in high school, I believe.
Even younger than that, actually.
Okay.
So, being an Italian American, cooking always a big part. I don't know if you remember my grandfather. He used to come and watch us play baseball when we were kids.
The
Um,
Padres. Yeah.
right, exactly. The
Yeah.
Padres,
Yeah.
and he used to sit behind the backstop on his little chair, hang out. I would be catching. But anyway, when I was a young kid, I was 6 years old. I ever the first time I ever I always hung out with him. We always like would uh, hang out, pick weeds in the garden, pick vegetables, things like that. Just always hanging out with him down in Malden, Massachusetts, and he would grow his own grapes, make his own wine, make his own prosciutto. Really did awesome stuff. That again, then I didn't even have a grasp of how special it was then, but I just enjoyed it and I loved hanging out with the guy. And we'd come in and from being in the garden, we'd sit and watch Marianne Esposito on Area Access and like just be hanging out. And one day we were watching Marianne Esposito's show and she was making fritada. Um, and I said, hey, can we make that? I was 6. I was like, can we make that? And my grandfather was like, yeah, sure. So we went and we cooked it. And, it was one of those things that when you're a little kid and you get that idea in your head. And I fell in love with it. And everything that my grandfather was doing, we made pasta together. We'd sit around when we were growing up on Hills Ferry Road, we'd sit around. My mom cooked all the time. So we'd make pasta, roll gnocchi, fling gnocchi halfway across the dining room. Really pissed my mom off, but she had 3 boys. It was the least of her worries. It was the gnocchi. Um, but but yeah, so it started when I was young, and I just kept on growing and growing, and then I started cooking at the City Room Cafe in Nashua. Like I started working there. Let's not tell anybody. I was 14. I started washing dishes there, and then I just was in love with the industry. And then going right back to Bourdain, I was in cooking and washing dishes for about 2-3 years when Kitchen Confidential came out, and my dad got me a copy of it, and I like read it, and I was like, this is my life. Like, I love this. Like, I just fell even more in love with it. Knew that I wanted to just pursue it.
And I know, and you did, and I know you were in the culinary program at Nashville High School, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, what's that like? I mean, now we're going back a little bit. We both were wrestlers, and we'd be miserable during wrestling season worrying about making weight and all the other things that come with being in high school. Was that a
Uh,
were those difficult times for someone that likes to cook, likes to eat, like, and now you're worried
well,
about your weight? You know?
totally, totally. It was like the hardest thing. So I was in the culinary program in high school, and then I also got recruited for Johnson and Wales to wrestle. And Coach Morris, one of like my greatest mentors and still a very good friend, amazing dude. He like was, when you're that age, it's like you don't really know, you don't have a very clear path. He kind of like had a really clear understanding of what I was looking for just from being friends and talking and being a great mentor and leader. And he's like, all right, cool. So like brought me on the team. I wrestled 125 for Johnson and Wales. And then, man, it was the most physically and emotionally taxing, mentally and emotionally taxing uh, time period because I was cooking. I was doing like it would be like I'd wake up at 6 o'clock, get ready to go to class. Class would be from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then rush right over to the other campus to get to wrestling practice. Wrestling practice from 3 to 6. Finish up around 5, or finish up around 6:30. Go to study hall. Study hall from 6:30 to like 9. Then work out for an hour and then go home and like try to get the rest of my work done and then wake up the next morning and do it again, be shaved and ready to go for class and then in the meantime you're not eating and drinking
Yeah.
because I was trying to make 120. I wrestled 130 in high school, senior year of high school, and then I
Oh,
ended
yeah.
up cutting down to 125 because that's where I fit in the lineup for Johnson and Wales. And uh and I was just cutting so much weight. It was just miserable. And it was great because it was the most amazing thing to being on a college sports team and just the team in general is when you're kind of all going through the hard yards. Really, it's a special camaraderie. It's a special thing, and I still talk to those guys and as much as possible. And I still talk to coach all the time. But
And I know, and I think they are more strict. I know at least high school about cutting weight, they're a little more strict. I'm not sure about college, but I think that during our years, knowing there was no rules or anything
oh
like
yeah,
that.
oh yeah, and we were going to the Y. I mean, the rubber suits, running.
Y-
You and I worked out a lot. We cut weight a
Yeah,
lot together.
yeah, those were definitely the hardest. That was hard. I
Mm,
mean, we were young, and like, yeah, it was not easy, but we got through it together.
yeah. Oh, and
So
that's the thing. It's like, like you, my brother, Corey Daigle, Eddie Bush, all these guys, Brian Haggerty wrestled for a year. All like you guys are all still good, really good friends. And like, I will have a bond, like, even though it's like we were in the Y working out yesterday, like it's like, we'll always have that bond because it's just, you're going through some hard stuff together. It's a very developmental and challenging time, and you're going through enough as it is being a teenager anyway. And then
yeah.
you have that, and but like, man, it requires and builds so much discipline and just so much character,
Oh,
So,
I wouldn't trade as tough as it was, wouldn't trade those years for anything,
mm.
to be honest. So, I do have questions about just college in general. Like, so like you said, you went to Johnson and Wales. Okay, so now it's a culinary program. What are the other requirements? Like, what are the majority of your classes like culinary classes? Do you have to still take gen eds and things like that, or?
Yeah, so it's split up into your practical and your lectures. So you have your like economics. So I got my degree in food service management,
Okay.
So it was like I have an associate's degree in culinary arts and then a bachelor's degree in management, right? And so so the culinary part of it, it was like maybe about two. It was broken down into trimesters instead of semesters. Out of three were practical, where you're in the lab and you're doing that 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. class. Excuse me. You show up to class. You got to be clean shaven, perfectly pressed uniform, knife sharp. Go in and you're rocking it all day. Um, and then of course, you take all your other stuff: sociology, psychology, economics, regular management courses, uh, nutrition, things, stuff like that. And I mean, I still got this right here. This is
Yep.
the old book
Oh
right
wow.
there. This is from college. But I mean, I keep it because it's an amazing book with tons of like every recipe, every recipe there is there. Um, but so it was like fun in a way, right? To be doing this practical, you go into class, but it was incredibly strict. Like talk about, we apply the discipline of cutting weight and wrestling and being in shape and all these things. And that's applied to the restaurant world. They're very similar worlds in some ways, and, again, having to show up to class, this would never be acceptable. So
Is
the second I got out of school is when I was like, screw that, I'm never shaving again.
yeah, is that health concerns that they had, or is that just like is it like the New York Yankees where they just have this policy of you got to be clean shaven?
I think it's a little bit of both. So
Okay.
there's definitely like sanitation and health issue, but like it's kind of like we're gonna teach you how to be a real professional chef.
Okay.
And like to me, I mean, in a way, like I wish things were still like that in a lot of ways, because it's just a totally different level of discipline that it requires. And you see of our generation of young chefs and stuff that are like, we're not really that young anymore, I guess, man.
No.
Our generation of chefs, like we came up in a pretty tough kitchens, and where you had to, if you show up to work with a stained apron, you're getting sent home.
Oh well.
They're not going to mess around. So
What's the most challenging part of being a chef? And I see in like what is just the hardest part, or that you feel?
um man, there's a lot of special and beautiful things about it, and at the same time there's a lot of things that are like that, this for the same reason that they're special and amazing, they're also really difficult. I uh, Every holiday, I don't really celebrate holidays. I look at them as not to de-romanticize it, but it's like a business opportunity, right? Like the holidays for me are when we can, number one, make the most money that we possibly can, or make the most money out of the whole year. And two, we can take care of the most people and really touch people, make them happy, and really make them feel, you know, uh, kind of deliver something that maybe they're missing, or give them something that, bring them some warmth and fulfillment and happiness. So to me, the way I look at holidays is, I've never spent them with my family. Again, it's funny to say that, is because Lowell Holiday Tournament was always right after Christmas. So there were so many
Miserable.
holidays. Yeah, exactly. There's so many holidays growing up in high school and stuff, where I remember just my parents would go to my grandparents' house, spend time with the family, and like I was like, I'm gonna stay home and work out for a couple hours and not be tempted by food and drink and everybody having a good time, and I'll be a little bit miserable, but like I'm gonna get through it. I'm gonna tough it out, and you know, I'm gonna win the Lowell holidays. That's that was the goal. So so there's that. It's it's just a tough industry. Like I'm 38 now. I get on the line. When I'm cooking on the line, which is much less often than it used to be, but my back hurts at the end of the night. Like it's rough. it's not. It's a very physical. It's like it's so physically demanding. It's like it requires a high level of athleticism almost. Everyone jokes around and says to me, "Oh, don't trust a skinny chef." And I'm like, "Man, I don't trust a fat chef. Those guys are lazy, sitting in their office, not on the line. Not, I mean, man, I'm running around the kitchens, tasting stuff, making sure, teaching people technique, sweating with the guys and girls sometimes, and cooking. So it's a physically demanding business, but it takes a lot mentally. You get a lot of things to remember. You get a lot of organizational skills. So there's a lot. I think it's a lot different than what the general perception of what being a chef is.
And I got to ask this now. You do a lot of you're a chef. You do a lot of the cooking, but you also have partners now and ownership of some of these other restaurants. So, are you having to do a lot of like the business behind the scenes stuff as well, or?
Absolutely. So that's, I'd say, more. So my position now is culinary director. I have an outstanding guy that I've been working with for 10 years, Jay Katapang, Filipino dude. He started off when we started working together. I believe he was sous chef, and now he's the group executive chef, which basically took over my position. I'm culinary director, so my role is more based around developing menus, doing training, dealing with some of the business back end of it. Right now we're working on building a production kitchen and things like that. So it's like there's tons of like number crunching and recipe development and cost management and things like that in order to in order to keep the business running and operating well.
Awesome,
Don't
awesome.
trust
Now,
the, don't trust the fat chef. Remember that.
too funny. We appreciate the comments coming in. I also want to ask, so what is, and I think I kind of, I feel like you might have answered this kind of when we were getting to know you, but what's your favorite part of being in the business?
Oh man, like yeah, as I said, it's taking care of people like that. The 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 fulfillment out of that I get from cooking food for people and seeing them like genuinely thrilled and excited and happy to have it. Especially here in Hong Kong, it's of course it's a crazy international city, very international city, people from all over the world, and like as you said before, plenty of Americans out here. But like to be able to get Italian American food here, New York style pizza, things like that, and then also to be able to provide my own creations and things that I think up and what I in my own way, my artistry to people and have them enjoy it. It's like there's not that's irreplaceable. I can equate it in a lot of ways and very often equate it to one of my best friends, Brady. We talk about music. I know Brady as well. I mean,
Yeah,
we're all fans of Brady.
we're gonna
Um,
talk a little bit about something related to Brady.
oh, nice,
So,
nice. But we talk about it all the time. It's like, man, like the fulfillment you get out of it, it's very similar, And I come from a family of musicians as well. My older brother and my father. And, like I always kind of, and if I feel like if I didn't cook, that's what I would have ended up doing if I could carry a tune in a paper bag. Uh,
do you get to talk to the customers a lot? Do you like, isn't in your role or?
Absolutely, like it's a big part of my job. Um, at this point, it's like family. Like we have new people every day that are coming in, but um, at the same time, I've been fortunate enough to build amazing relationships with amazing people, and it's I mean something incredibly special.
Awesome.
In and of it, like this another little anecdote, right? Like, I mean, I'm on the floor all the time talking to people, but my brother Chris was out here for a couple of years, and
He's a
he was
Canadian now,
yeah, exactly. But that's where he met. So he met his what he was running Posto Publico, and he met his wife at Posto Publico. And I mean, I walked in that night later, and he's like hanging out with. He like was like love at first sight for him. But and then now they moved to Canada, and they have a beautiful little baby boy and a dog, a nice family, cool little house, and doing it.
Yeah, shout out to Chris because I have to say he's not really on social media a lot, but I did see a picture of him and his son on Instagram, which was cool to see. Because
Yeah,
he'll like post something every like I don't know once a year maybe. So
yeah.
um,
Uh,
now, as you said, we've gotten older. What would you say to a young kid trying to get into the industry now?
ooh, man, so so much. I would say first thing, like anything, if you're gonna do it, go in. Like, don't just don't half-ass it. Don't 1 foot in, 1 foot out. If you're gonna do it, like I would say this about any endeavor that you ever take in life, right? Like, just show up, show up looking sharp, fresh, be enthusiastic, ask questions, bring a notebook, take notes, write things down, and be a student of food and kitchens and cooking. You need to be in love with this industry to do it. If you don't love it, you got a lot of work ahead of you that you're going to be like, why am I doing it? You're going to be wasting your time because it is such a grueling and hard industry, and sometimes thankless and sometimes not very forgiving. And you're going to have a lot of times, holidays, special events that you're going to not be able to spend with your family. You're going to have, I mean, it sounds so glorious and wonderful. Uh, but like you're going to miss out on some relationships and things like that that normal folks might be able to indulge in and enjoy. But like, you gotta love it. You gotta be deeply passionate about it and deeply in love with the industry, with the with food itself, and have respect for it. One of the things that I always also say is never burn a bridge. Be honest, be real. Don't burn bridges. Just be true to yourself. But people will forgive you if you're honest with them. But if once you start bullshit and lying, then that's when you're gonna make enemies. And it's a small industry. We all know each other, whether it's from here to Spain to New Hampshire to New York, whatever. We all like are connected in some way, and it's just do right by your fellow industry folk.
All right, good answer. And a lot of people that you went to school with, are they all? Did you stay in touch with them? Are they all still kind of in the industry? Like personally, like I went to school to be a teacher. Very different. A lot of people I went to school with, including myself, don't teach
Hmm.
anymore.
Yeah, fair.
Did that kind of? Are most of them still going strong with it, or?
Yeah, a lot are. There's a couple that have bowed out. But like for example, one of my best friends, Joe DiPasquale, kid, New Yorker that I met in the first week of college at Johnson and Wales. Great dude. I just spent the summer cooking with him for one of the world's wealthiest human beings. And he's still cooking. He's a private chef and doing a great job at it. And he's asked me to come help him out for a summer, basically. And it was quite an amazing experience. But I still keep in touch with all those guys. One of my business partners is a Johnson and Wales graduate as well, and he was in the dorm next door to me. We didn't know each other in college, but
Oh wow.
it's crazy. He's a food and beverage director, and we didn't know each other. He was a year ahead of me, and excuse me, he was in East Hall. I was in South Hall, and it's just we're like, wait, you know that guy too? You know that guy? Also,
No.
he's one of my best friends out here. So.
Where do you see the future of where you're going with red sauce and everything like that? Is it just continuing to grow, or?
Yeah, I mean, we're building it. Actually, we're getting ready to open another Feeney's. Um, Cat's out of the bag now, I guess. Uh, we're getting ready to open another
Wait,
Feeney's.
is that revealing something on Let Freedom Ring here, or?
Yeah, this is like
Oh,
this
all
is
right. Here we
actually
go.
this is the first public announcement of that. Actually, honestly.
Oh, all right.
So Kun Tong It's a region on the Kowloon side of Hong Kong. I live on the Hong Kong island. Our restaurants are all on Hong Kong island. It's our first endeavor on the Kowloon side, um, and it'll be our third Feeney's. And so that's happening, and we have a couple more little cheeky things on the way. And then in addition to that, I mean, we're constantly kind of moving and shaking, making things happen. But at some point, I would like to get myself back stateside and do something of my own in the U.S. So
Okay. Awesome, awesome. Well, we got some fan questions for you and some fan comments. First one from Amy Barlow. Oh my God, is he in town? He's not.
unfortunately, unfortunately, this is not that's not Kessler Farms, um, nor is it Blackstone Drive. It is Hong Kong. So right now, and also it's dark here, so that's another dead giveaway. I mean,
Awesome. Thanks for the comment, Amy. Also from
I
Becky,
mean,
and Becky, she was Becky the Liberty when we were kids. She's asked questions for the show before. Becky, I apologize. I don't know how to say your new last name. I think it's. I'm not even gonna try because I butchered it before. But from Becky, wow, Vinny, those are some cool accomplishments. So she's giving you a shout out there.
thank you, Becky. I appreciate
From Tanya Brennan, she said, "This is so awesome." Um,
that.
it's another fan there. Katie O'Reilly, who went by, she was Katie Ost when we were kids. She married Steve Riley. Ah, no way. This is amazing. Excited to see and hear about all his accomplishments. So you got some fans here, Vinny. You
Awesome.
got some fans.
Well,
Uh, Doug Palmville asks an interesting question. He says, question for Vinny, how quickly could he spladle Dan?
I wouldn't even dare right now. This dude's been training. You're gonna have to give me like another 2 years of solid, 5 hours a day in the gym, couple hours of practice before I even set foot on the mat with Dan.
I'll tell you one thing. Were you there where I was still coaching because I have retired from coaching. It just didn't work out with my career.
Mm.
Uh, and the kids wanted all the coaches. I think it was you, maybe there, Chris, Justin O'Farrow, and they wanted us to do takedowns, right? And I didn't feel bad, but like I got something to prove to these. I can't lose to you guys. And I think I took down because I think I ended up with Chris, and then I had to
Mm.
go with Justin, and I think Justin almost had me. And I was like, no chance. I think I just, I just like threw him. I don't even think it was like anything very technical there, because in my head I was like, I can't
It
lose in
came
front of these
from
kids.
here. It came
You
from
know,
here, Dan.
you know. But that was a fun day. I think we did that over a holiday break, and I have to give a shout out to your dad, Rick. And I've said this many times because he was our coach when we were kids, and one of the greatest joys I had in my life was getting to come back and coach with him. So just want to give a shout out to Rick there.
His One of his, he is, Dad. I hope you're watching this. You're the man, and he one of his favorite pictures is that photo of the three generations of wrestlers, or was it four? Was
I
it
think it
with
was it was his coach's coach, Rick, and who was my coach. So yeah, there
right?
was four of us.
And you, it's insane. He's like, this is just. I mean, it's an amazing photo. It's just real cool because it's like, man, all these guys still in the sport at that age, and like, still, you just once you wrestle, everything else in life is easy. No, not just that, but
We
like,
put that on a shirt one time.
yeah, I love that. No, but it's true. But like, once you wrestle, it's like that sticks with you. I can accredit a lot of like a lot of my successes to like and a lot of my like willpower and just my desire to like be successful and desire for excellence to wrestling. Man, we worked hard and we're young kids that were like learning that value, of what it takes to be a champ, you know? So huge.
Yeah, I definitely, I hope to one day maybe get back involved. Now I've had rotator cuff surgery and a lot of other things. I've not been great to my body. I've had a lot of injuries over the
Mhm.
years, but
Right.
I've always stayed active. which is why I say to anybody as you get older, slow down a little bit. But another shout out from Linda Ryan just says, Vinny, uh, love the Ryan family too.
Yeah,
Uh, that's another great Nashua family.
amazing. And I mean, that was all our era too. All the boys and dads coached together. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, dude, every time. So I have. Does Bill watch the show? Does your dad watch the show?
he's been on the show. He watches
Oh, right.
sometimes. Yeah,
Awesome. So every time I tripe today, and every time I think
yeah.
about tripe, or I have tripe, I think of your dad because your dad and my dad used to hang out. Like they used to get pumped up, lift weights, and be like, "We're gonna eat tripe. We're gonna have tripe for dinner." But I actually made it one time when my dad came out here to visit. I made tripe. I actually put tripe on the menu because he was coming out. So
Oh, that's very cool.
shout
Um,
shout out to Bill.
Uh, and we got one more question from Leo Connors, the host of the Ring and All Their Sports, and I think I'll be going back on his show on April 4th. We talked about that last night, me and him. But Leo, he's not a professional chef, but he really does enjoy cooking. That's like something that he really enjoys. He wants to know what's your signature dishes. I'm assuming
Ooh,
there's a bunch here,
yeah,
but
it's such a tough call. Okay, one of my favorite, oh, man. All right. It's kind of a common question in a way, and I'll answer it like with the way that I usually answer because honestly, I it's hard for me to put my finger on one, but I absolutely
thanks, Kendall.
nice. I absolutely love cooking what's around me. To me, my grandparents, great grandparents, their parents came over from Italy to the Boston area, and that their generation came over as Italians from Sicily or Naples, and all over Italy, really. But my family came from the south. They came over and they didn't have the novelty of calling and being like, "All right, I need 2 cases of tomatoes. I need this, that, and get all this stuff shipped over." So I always say, man, I'll go into the market of wherever I am, and I think I mentioned earlier, open restaurants in 5 different countries now, and um, and one of my favorite things to do is I know how to cook as an Italian or as an Italian American. That's to me, you cook what's around you. So what I like to go into the market, learn about ingredients, and just cook using those ingredients. And I always encourage everybody to do that as well because use what's around you. If you want to cook Italian, that's truly what Italian food is. So it's hard for me to just pin down a signature dish. I can make a ton of different kinds of pastas and things like that. So usually I'll use something and then make a tagliatelle or a rigatoni or some kind of pasta with it, or ravioli, and I'd have to say that's my signature dish. Another thing that I always will go to is seafood. Any seafood dish, lobster, fra diavolo, things that we grew up with in New England. Uh, as New Englanders, it's like, man, there's nothing really beats that like a seafood pasta with a red tomato based broth, bunch of chili in there, a good amount of olive oil, pasta cooked perfectly. Now we talking.
Nice, nice. Yeah. So I'm sure you know Leo, like I said, he loves cooking, so I'm sure he would take any advice there. I do want to talk about some.
Put me on the side, and I'll give you. We can talk turkey. All right.
All right, all right. No, it sounds
Sure.
good.
Sure.
Uh, I do want to bring up this. So background the way, Brady Watt song that he produced, and he took a lot of local rappers. He had Pete Mankara on it. Pleasure Pete. Shout out former guest. He's coming back to the show
Oh, nice.
next month, I believe. But what I found interesting, and also shout out to Brady. I know he's in recovering. Um, uh, he's had some treatment there, so big shout out to Brady. But I'm watching the video, and I've watched a lot. That is actually a banger of a song. Let me tell you.
So good. So
Um, and then all of a sudden I go, "Holy crap! There's Vinny!"
good.
Like, how did that cameo come to play?
So Brady and I go back to, we started hanging out in high school because Warren, Warren, Derek Talbot, and I had a band with like Kevin Nix, your next door neighbor.
Oh man, yeah, that is a name I have not heard in years, and I
Yeah,
loved Kevin.
yeah, great dude. He was a drummer. And anyway, so we had a band together. And Brady, we were like looking for a bassist, and we met Brady, and Brady was an awesome bassist. He was playing in like a ska band at the time. We played reggae, all parallels there. And we started hanging out. Warren, Brady, and I started hanging out. Warren, Brady, Derek, me, all of us hanging out together, and we became really good friends. Even to the point where, actually we became so close to the point where Brady went to school in Boston. I was in school in Providence. We'd go visit each other all the time. I moved to New York. Brady was going to New York to pursue his music career. We're in New York together, and then, I mean, I'm just I've always been a huge fan of Brady, but also one of my best friends in the world. And then, like, he came out here to play a show with DJ Premier and to play in Tokyo. And I jumped on a flight to Tokyo that night, went out to see him play. Anyway, so we've always been really good friends. We spend a lot of time together. That's what's up. We spent a bunch of time together, and I was in New York and back in New Hampshire for a bit. And he's like, "Yo," and Pete Mankara also, holler at Pete, dude. He gave Chris and me credit on his first LP, saying that we gave him his name because I used to call him Pleasure Pete back in the day.
He told that story on the show.
Oh, awesome. So, dude, and also I have his Pleasure Pete cassette tape as well, sitting over there that he sent out here. Just such a great dude. So it was kind of a really good opportunity. Brady's like, "Yo, I'm gonna be in Nashua. You're gonna be in Nashua, shooting at Pete's house. Let's all cook together, eat together, and whatever." So that's also me cooking. Besides Pete throwing that steak,
Yeah.
right? Like that gave me a little bit of a heart attack watching that steak fall on the ground. But
Yeah.
it's hilarious because it's Pete, man. But yeah, so I was there cooking. We were hanging out, having beers together, chilling in the backyard with the chickens. Us three, Crusoe shooting, and yeah, we all were just hanging out. And then Brady's like, "Yo, get the video. Let's get it. Get on the bridge rapping." I apparently did such a great job on that video that he had me cameo on Papoose, a song he wrote for Pap, later on in New York at Sony Hall called Maturity, which is hilarious. I was playing an old timey piano.
That's really cool. Yeah, like that was the surprise of the video. I knew Pete was going to be in it. I think that was promoted. But then when all of a sudden, like, I'm like, oh my, hey, there's Vinny too. Yeah, two very talented guys. Brady's, I mean, when I heard the lead singer Dispatch, who we all loved growing up, say that Brady was a legendary bassist, I went, oh wow, that's a big stamp of approval right there.
Crazy.
And then I think I saw a picture of him with Dave Chappelle the other day. Yeah, he's gonna do a lot. And I gotta say, Pete's back doing music. He just put out a new video. So be on the lookout for Pleasure Pete. Very talented guy. And like I said, we'll have him back on the show soon. All right, well, I want to do this segment on the show that we do on every show. We got some top fives. And we ask this a lot. We ask movies and TV. We're gonna ask those. We got some other ones. We do want to know your top 5 movies. We do this almost like recommendations for people to check out if they haven't seen them. Do you have a top 5 favorite movies?
Okay, I have quite a few. All right, so Manhattan is probably one of my favorite, most beautifully shot movies of all time. I love King of New York as well. The Christopher Walken. I really like Christopher Walken, and I grew up watching him. True Romance with Christian Slater. Also, that's one of my favorite. Like,
that's put James Gandolfini on the map.
Unreal, so good. Let's see. My favorite comedy of all time is Airplane. Forget it. Yeah. Forget favorite comedy. It's my favorite. It's top 5 movies, easy. In my top 5. I've probably seen it more than anything else. Goodfellas, Love it. I love anything Tarantino. I think I might have gone over here. Oh, and as far as food movies, there's two that I like that get me. Ratatouille. I think
Okay.
that's an amazing movie, and I thought Chef was a really great movie, like really thoughtful and well done.
I haven't seen Chef. When did that come out?
That came out. That's John Favreau,
Okay.
and came
He
out.
always does good work.
Yeah, and I mean that's he's got a whole show around it. Like he's made a career out of it because he really fell in love with cooking and food and stuff. But it's a really good flick. It's maybe like 2012, 2014, something like that, maybe.
Awesome, awesome.
Great, great.
Big shout out to True Romance because as anybody knows that watches the show, how big of a Sopranos fan I am and how much I love James Gandolfini.
Oh yeah.
And to this day, I relived the day they announced he had passed away. I was like, no, no, like So, do you have a top 5 TV shows all time?
Oh man, I mean Seinfeld, done deal. Like no questions asked. Cheers, because got that greater Boston pride. I really love this show called again food kitchen show. It's called Kitchen Confidential. Okay, it's from early 2000s. It's Bradley Cooper's first, like, if you want to call it big role, TV role, when he was really young. And he's Jack Bourdain, and it's based on the book Kitchen Confidential, and it was made by the same creators of Sex and the City. So it has that like kind of twist to it, but it's the restaurant industry based on that book in the early 2000s. So that's a real cool show, but there's like 2 seasons of it. And it's like very cool. Nobody even knows about it. Um, let's see. I've been a couple stupid but awesome things that I watch. Ballad of Buster Scruggs is really cool. I've been digging that, or I dig that. It's a like kind of a mini series type thing.
Netflix?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Coen Brothers. Like
Oh, all right.
it's a western. It's cool. It's real cool. And then this dumb but like kind of counter culture comedy show that I think you should leave is pretty hilarious. Um, Moments of just absolute comedy gold. But besides that, I'm a big stand up comedy fan, so I get down with like obviously Chappelle. Nate Bargatze is one of my favorites. Dimitri Martin, all these dudes. Patton
Yeah,
Oswalt.
I think Chappelle is my favorite of all time.
Mm.
It was rough when he just like went away because it was
Yeah,
like that Chappelle show was like at the peak,
yeah,
and it was like, wait, they're not going to have this anymore. And then he didn't do anything for like a decade. I
yeah,
just was like, all right, we're never going to see Dave Chappelle again, you know?
yeah. And back
Uh,
in back in huge way.
yeah. I mean, Netflix specials. I know he's caught some controversy, and we're not going to get into that debate today, actually.
Yeah,
Uh,
for another
uh,
time.
yeah. Do you have top 5 favorite restaurants that you've ever been to?
Oh man, it's funny you ask because I just wrote this list down the other day. Because I'm like, man, I don't know. All right, I'm gonna lay these on you. They're all over the world though. So and they're all for very different reasons. So like, if anybody is interested in talking about any of these, I'll talk about them all day long. But or is interested or in any of the areas where these are, let's talk about them before you go because there's in for different reasons in different ways they're very very special to me. Okay, so top 5 in no particular order is Sweetings in London, which is like old school seafood restaurant. It's called Sweetings. Um, a place called Nguyen Sin, which is in Hanoi, Vietnam, where I used to have a restaurant for a while, Linguini Fini, and that is I like discovered it, and it was just so special. Vietnamese, old school Vietnamese place from the 40s, 1940s, doing French style charcuterie, but in a Vietnamese way. And again, it's not like a glitz and glamour place. It's a working man's cafe. Like it's not any, it's no hipsters in there making charcuterie. It's like these dudes are like, what's this white guy doing in here? You know,
Yeah.
type of thing. Or like, please, let me order something. um, Russ and Daughters Cafe in New York is, it just has, every time I've been, never fails. Jewish delicatessen. The cafe, Katz's Jewish delicatessen, amazing. And then these two are solid. So La Esquina de Birria is, it means the corner of birria, right? Which is birria is a stewed goat meat in this, or beef in this like really flavorful, amazing broth, and the goat's super tender, and you kind of build your own tacos with it. Again, something that
Oh
I
wow.
stumbled on when I was on vacation in Mexico in Guadalajara. But La Esquina de Birria is in Guadalajara, and I was with my buddy Mark Nagel. We stumbled on it, and I was like, "This is amazing." And again, I have these few cool videos of these old abuelas making tacos, and it's unreal. Um, and then a little Boston love, Salty Girl is one of my favorite restaurants of all time. And then my favorite pizza in the world is the OG Regina's in North End.
Okay. I like that. What was the one in Boston again? Salty Girls?
Salty Girl.
It's okay.
Salty Girl is like seafood. So if anybody's been to Frank's Records, I have a big tin seafood program, hugely inspired by Salty Girl.
Awesome, awesome. Well, definitely, I was interested in that because I'm sure you've been to ones that all over the place. So,
Mm.
I do want to ask this, and you can either pick top 5 wrestlers. They could be WWE or collegiate wrestlers. Do you have a top 5?
Man, what if it's like a little bit of a little mix?
We could do that. We could do a mix.
Well, actually, I have some that I'm like, because I watch UFC sometimes, and I really like, would I love UFC. I trained a little MMA just for fun, but you know what I like? I really love watching UFC because the wrestlers are always the toughest dudes.
I'm
They're
so
always
biased when they like. I liked Conor McGregor, but when he fought Khabib, I was like, oh, I hope Khabib kills him, and he did.
Khabib is like a world champ wrestler. Like
Yeah.
he's on a whole other level, you know. And the same thing with a lot of these other guys. But okay, so Jordan Burroughs, hands down, class athlete, Olympic champ a couple times over, world champ, just as good as they get. Gable Steveson is a junior in college right now from Minnesota. Which I believe he just won his second NCAA championship.
Signed with
He's
the
gonna be.
WWE.
Was that
He is signed by the WWE. He was under
really?
contract even on yeah. With them being able to pay college athletes now, the WWE has signed college athletes, and he was like the big one that they signed.
Oh man,
So he's done college wrestling, and he's heading there.
yeah. Well, he's. I can't remember if he's been on the national team or not, but
Yeah,
he's
Olympic gold medalist. Like, and I think that as a big wrestling fan, as you can probably see in the background here, I think this kid is athletic enough to do it, and I think he'll be over quickly with the crowd.
yeah.
That's my prediction.
I wouldn't doubt that for a second. I mean, when he retired his wrestling shoes. You know, he took his wrestling shoes off on the mat after he won the championship, and the place was just going nuts. It's crazy. Um, I'll give you a couple more. Roman Bravo Young,
Okay.
133 pounder from Penn State. Ben Askren, I just loved his style, super funky style. And then he went to MMA or UFC. He had a couple tough fights, but like still just funkiest wrestling style. Bret the Hitman Hart was always my favorite. I believe you and I were jumping off couches, elbows off, giving each other sharpshooters back in the day when we were watching the WrestleMania and whatnot.
That was his era. I mean, Hogan left, and it became the Bret Hart show.
Oh
You know.
yeah, awesome. And then there's a young dude for anybody that watches collegiate wrestling. There's a guy that just got signed to Wisconsin that is gonna. I have a feeling he's gonna be finalist freshman year if he's a true freshman. It's Nicolas Rivera, and I really like watching this dude because he's just funk, swag, everything. Like tough as nails, and he's gonna be real good.
Is the case closed? It's Cale Sanderson's not only the goat of wrestling, but also coaching? Or do you still think it's Gable? I mean, he went undefeated. He went to Penn State and has made them a juggernaut, which I don't even think Penn State was okay. They weren't
Hmm.
what they are now without him. It's like they consistently are there. They consistently win. He might, I think at this point, I think I might have said it like 10 years ago that I thought he was the best.
You always love, yeah, you love them. I don't know, man. Gable, with the amount of times I watch Competitive Edge, that Gable movie, dude, we must
I
have
need to
watched that.
see that. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Well, no, that was like back in the day when we were kids. That remember that that like we had the VHS and we like before
Oh, did we
matches.
watch? Yeah.
Yeah, before
I,
matches we'd like hang out downstairs and watch.
I mean, I do remember watching, I still love Vision Quest. Vision Quest is probably in my top 5 movies to this day.
Oh man, that's a good call. I feel like they shortchanged him. I shortchanged Loudon Swain and shoot there.
I remember your dad edited the video to take out all the sexual stuff. I'd be like, what happened to the movie there? You know?
It's like a half an hour. I think there's a bit of the vulgarity, not to mention that he wanted to make it so a bunch of like kids could sit and focus for half an hour.
Yeah, honestly though, like if we didn't, I became obsessed. I'm still obsessed with that movie.
Yeah,
I own it. I could rewatch it. I've rewatched it. I can. It never gets old. It's like Goodfellas.
I
You
work
know, it's
out
just
to
one.
I work out to Lunatic Fringe still.
Yeah, you know, Kurt Angle used that theme music when he was in Impact Wrestling.
Oh, nice.
So, but yeah, back to that. I don't know. I think Cale Sanderson surpassed him, but you know, obviously Dan Gable was the goat. I would say the goat before him. I don't think
Mm,
that's even in question.
yeah,
But
I
he
feel you.
lost his last college match. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
that because that's what we watched in the video, right?
right, but then
Yeah.
he came back and he came back working out the next day, and then he went undefeated. He didn't have a point scored on him in the World Championship. He
Oh
went to the
wow.
Olympics and didn't have a single point scored on him. Outscored everybody. I can't remember what it was, but it was just in the spectacular fashion, just like so absolutely like annihilated everybody. And then the next day, and this is again why he'll always be be on a pedestal in my eyes. Um, the next day after the Olympics, and this is somebody else telling this story. They said they went outside, and the day after the Olympics, after he won the gold medal, he outscored everybody. Didn't get a point scored on him. I can't remember who the wrestler was. They said they went outside, and Dan Gable was in his warm-ups going for a run, still training. Like it was like he's like some of us are feeling sorry for herself. Gable's out there training.
Yeah, he's like a no nonsense guy too. I don't know if you saw. I watched this live when he was getting the Medal of Honor from President Trump, and he seemed very annoyed with him because like Trump kept walking off, and he goes, "I guess he's out of here." Like
Yeah, 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 I saw that. Yeah,
it was kind of entertaining to watch there. But yeah, no, that's just a debate. I honestly, what Cale Sanderson's done at Penn State is just unbelievable, and to be so consistent.
yeah,
Um, you
champ.
know, so all right, I want to get to my favorite segment of the show, which is blank versus blank, and this is something I don't give you any prep on. I'm going to put two things against each other. You got to pick one and tell me why.
Okay.
First one: would you rather cook or eat?
Man, eat, man. I don't know. I love eating. It's like one of my favorite parts of cooking.
Understandable. Um, now here's a tough one. We ask this a lot. Uh, very well known, obviously, New England Patriots fans here. But they had a really big run for 20 years. And then Tom Brady left New England, went to Tampa Bay. But who's more responsible for the success of the 20-year span of the New England Patriots, Tom Brady or Bill Belichick?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I I want to say Belichick because I always believe you can have great athletes, but if you don't have a great coach, that you need that level of leadership. And I honestly also believe as talented and as amazing as Brady is, the best of all time, without a doubt. But like Belichick, I think had a lot to do with that too. You know?
Well, it goes, I know Belichick's been off on some draft picks over the last couple of years, but he's also basically the GM of the team. I mean, he's
Mm.
putting the team together. A lot of those winning teams, like you got to have the quarterback. You have to have the quarterback to win the NFL, and Brady's that guy. But he's also went to Tampa Bay where he had everything that he wanted. I mean, literally, they're signing Antonio Brown just because he wanted him.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Well, yeah,
did you?
let's give it the next couple of years. I want to see. I really want to see what Belichick does with the team the next couple of years because I really feel like you know I really he's just an amazing coach. He's an amazing leader. I admire him in so many ways.
Uh,
I mean, I don't not to take anything away from Brady. Obviously, I admire Brady in so many ways as well.
do you guys get all the games in Hong Kong?
I usually stream it. I have
Okay.
the MLB package, so I
Okay.
watch way more baseball. Football is hard because the timing. Usually, it's like 4 a.m. when the
Oh
game.
yeah.
Here, it's like baseball games are on at like usually 7 a.m. And so I can get up, work out, watch the game while I'm working out. Like kind of ease into my day with a Sox game going on in the background. But like it's funny because it's not the usual hanging out, drinking beers, watching baseball. It's but it's a great way to start the day.
I mean, during the pandemic, just to get my sports fix, there was times I was waking up at weird times to watch KBO, the Korean Baseball League,
No, that's awesome.
because that was the only thing. Shout out to the Samsung Lions. I did fall off on it, because then sports started to slowly come back here.
That's great though. That's just so cool that was like, available.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they were doing better with the pandemic, so they would play to empty crowds, and it was just something. There was a few, and again, there was a few Americans in the league, so kind of made it interesting.
Yeah.
Um, did you enjoy high school wrestling or college wrestling more?
Oh man. Let's put it this way. I enjoyed the success of high school wrestling because I I just had a lot of success in it. College wrestling was incredibly tough, and what I really enjoyed the camaraderie and like being around a lot of guys that they were the best in their, some of the best in their state, some of the best in their region, and like you get so much better that way. And not to mention that there's like you get so much better that way, and that mentality of the championship mentality kind of comes through. And you're like, oh, like you want to, you're keeping up with them. So I had a lot of great guys that I worked with, but it's hard to say because I really loved high school wrestling. I really loved what we did. We did a lot of awesome stuff. Our lineup was really good with you, my brother, me, all back to back to back in there. I mean, we had some tight, tight, little tight crew there.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had a good lineup. I was gonna ask, because did Matt Smith ended up at Johnson and Wales? Do I have that right?
He wrestled the season at Johnson and Willis like the year that I left.
Okay, okay, so you guys weren't teammates together, because
No,
he's
he left Penn State or for whatever reason, and then after he left Penn State, he went and took over the 125 spot after
oh
I took the 125 spot,
yeah,
which
yeah,
yeah was whatever.
yeah.
I don't want
He's,
to
I mean,
talk about
yeah.
it.
I mean,
Okay.
he has done some incredible. I don't know. Again, I've been out of coaching, but those Smitty's Barn kids were, but you got, that's one of those things. Like, if you have the money to send your kid to that, then yeah, then
Yeah.
they're gonna get good.
And it was he was undefeated in all of high school. He was
Yeah.
undefeated. And it's like again, like a Gable, some on some Gable level, but
And the
like
thing,
he was so great.
the thing too, like when we were in wrestling at the Boys and Girls Club, I'd never heard of him, so I don't know where he. I don't know if we just never wrestled Timberlane when we were at that
Yeah, I
level.
was
I
the
don't know.
last one to beat him.
Oh,
In
in middle school.
Yeah, I beat him in the states in middle school, and
Okay.
then he beat me freshman year in the finals, and then I had 21 losses my high school career. That was like 140 and 20 or 21 or something, and like 11 of them were to him.
Yeah, he was unreal, and I don't know if anybody even came close. I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember. It's been 20
I,
years, but again,
I was beating him. I was the closest to beating him. I was beating him 2-0 going into the third period, and he ended, or sorry, 3-0 going into the third period in Lowell Holiday's freshman year, and then he ended up beating me in overtime. They got a penalty call.
oh, of course. Yeah, no, very interesting stuff though. But I guess I think he's still coaching. But again, wrestling was very weird in the area last couple of years. Like I remember I think they did instead of I think 2020 or 2021, we were used to going to state tournaments. Again, we want the team points, but we are worried about what we were going to do. I think the state tournament was dual meet like tournament
Oh,
during the
really?
pandemic. Yeah, I follow Merrimack, the Merrimack page, the Merrimack wrestling team, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what was going on. So the pandemic, obviously not kind to the sport of wrestling. Um, I
So
think
many
I know.
ways,
Yeah, I think I know the answer to this. Would you rather watch baseball or football?
man. So tough. I'm gonna have to say baseball because I grew up with it, but I played football too for Penachuk when I was a kid. I love football, so I'm gonna say baseball just because you know so many years of it.
Yeah, see, I still love baseball. It's like that was my first love, but like as time has gone on, like yeah, football now it's like it's once a week. It's always an event,
An event,
you
yeah.
know, you know.
It's funny
Um,
because I went to a game with Warren when I was back, and it was amazing. But like, let's say this: I'm gonna do this live baseball, no matter where I sit, and TV football.
okay.
So
Yeah, that's one thing. Like I love going to the games and everybody's like, "Why do you like going to the games? So much easier to watch on TV." I go, "I don't know. There's something about tailgating and everything like that that I enjoy." But the big thing I'm into right now and big game at 3 o'clock, New England Free Jacks, the rise of rugby, I'm telling you. Uh, awesome stuff going on with Major League Rugby right now.
nice.
Um,
It's huge out here. They have
oh yeah,
rugby.
no.
They have rugby sevens, and it's like the biggest event of the year in Hong
Yeah,
Kong.
sevens is that's some, we got a guy who on New England, Bourdain Waka. He played for the All Black Sevens team. He's
Hmm.
like, dude, this guy's unbelievable. Like I brought a bunch of people to the game. He made this kick. He kicks it over. He gets to the ball before anybody. No, I think he kicked it again. Gets to the ball, gets tackled. Someone's right there. He tosses it in for the try. Like this guy's unreal. Like for this league. Like, but
Nice.
love the
I
Free
saw the
Jacks.
All Blacks. I saw the All Blacks win a few years back in the rain, in sevens, and then do the haka in the pouring rain. It was
Oh
like the
wow.
craziest thing. It was like top 10 plays on Sports Center, and like such an obscure, like nobody knows anything about Hong Kong sevens, but here it's so big. And then it was like no, it was number 5 on top 10, and we're
Oh,
like,
that's
yeah.
they're unbelievable. I mean, honestly, when I played rugby, they liked me because I was a wrestler
Hmm.
and I could tackle people. I just couldn't remember the plays. You don't need to know plays to be a wrestler. You just
Yeah,
have to have some instinct.
yeah.
All right, two very tough ones. These are the toughest ones in blank versus blank. First one, Coach James or Coach Richard?
Oh, jeez, that's real tough. I don't want to offend anybody, but look,
Coach
Coach.
Richard may watch this because I am Facebook friends with him. I have not seen Coach James in 20 years, so
Okay,
just a
so
heads
I'll
up.
just say Coach Richard. No, I okay. So let's put it this way. I feel like I had a grip. Like, so I was going to the going to the high school wrestling. You often did that as well when we were in boys club. Um, and so like I had a relationship with Coach Richards when he was. So I feel like I had like almost more of a closer friendship with Coach Richard. But Coach James was the hardest core, and I still some of my guys and girls in the restaurants here are aware of Coach James's uh, demeanor and presence because Chris and I would joke around about it sometimes. Tell me if you remember this story. we're all doing sprints down the long hallway next to the cafeteria, and one of the guys was kind of whimpering and like, we're sprinting as hard as we could and kind of like, like when they're getting to the end, whimpering a little bit. And Coach James yells, "You want sympathy from me?
Oh
You're not going to get
yes,
sympathy from me. You're not going to get sympathy from your opponent. You're not going to get sympathy from life."
I still say that to this day.
So yeah, so some of the guys I joke around with some of the cooks and front of house people out here, and we talk about it. Chris brought it up, and we were laughing at it. But like that was the Coach James attitude, and that changed the way I had never. My dad was a great coach. I had a couple Jeff Gravel, and we had a bunch of Lee, all these guys, great coaches, and Coach Richards obviously. But Coach James was the first coach that was like, you want to be a champ, this is what it takes. Like, you gotta take it to the next level, and with no excuses. And he would beat the living crap out of us when we were like wrestling him in practice. And you're like, well, it taught me a lot. So
I
I
mean,
don't know.
there's like endless amounts of stories about him, and I know he went on to be like a legendary coach in Methuen when he left. Like I've
Hmm,
seen articles about him. But I remember one time we were wrestling in Concord, and I was wrestling this kid Brandon By who liked to do a lot of head taps, but he
I
wouldn't
remember
do
that.
anything with it. He
Yeah,
just, I think he did it to piss you off.
right.
Yeah, and finally I got annoyed, and I don't know what came over me, but I hit him with my palm, and I his nose started bleeding, and the whole Concord gym is just booing, right? And it didn't work for me. I think I lost the match. I was so frustrated with that, and
Hmm.
so it worked on his behalf. But I get to practice the next day, and Coach James goes, "Oh, you think you're a brawler?" I go, "No." "Oh, you think you're a tough guy?" I'm like, "No." And I had to wrestle him all practice. He just kicked. I mean, at one point, he put my head in the mat where I couldn't even breathe, and I was like, "All right, well, I'll never do that again." Like, there was no messing with him at all.
It sounds abusive to anybody listening, but he was like he like knew the line. He like
Yeah.
knew the line. He just was he's like, no excuses. No excuses.
I think the best thing was though, and we all a little piece of it where he looked like he probably wrestled in the Olympics,
Yeah.
and we got everybody to believe that he won a bronze medal.
Yeah. Yeah.
To the point, Coach Hardy of the football team even asked him if he had
Yeah.
won that, which too funny. Those are good times though.
Brian Duncan, I think, started
Yeah,
started that.
yeah, it was some funny stuff. All right, toughest one in blank versus blank. We're gonna put two people together, two people that are very important to you. Chris Warren or Pleasure Pete Mankara?
Oh my, come on. It's impossible. I can't do it.
We don't put
Um,
your feet to the fire on this one.
um, all right. Both great rappers, unbeknownst to many. As far as drunken storytelling goes, I'm gonna have to say Chris Warren. And as far as his rap game, and his cooking game is not bad either. Pete Minkara.
Both
Chris and
great
I are
guys.
like, dude. Chris is one of my best friends in the world. Like, been through a lot of stuff together. So I gotta give love to Warren.
Yeah, Chris is one of my friends that I don't see him often, but when I do, it's like nothing's changed. So big shout out to Chris. He explained to me what the WhatsApp app was because I had no idea what that was. So,
Yeah,
um, but
and
anyways,
and, and, and like he did it in a remotely non like demeaning manner too, because he like I'm so technologically illiterate. Like he explains stuff to me and he like breaks it down like I'm a 2-year-old, which sometimes isn't even isn't even
yeah,
good enough, but he does it in a very nice way. So I mean,
that's Chris. We love him, and Pete too. So, Vinny, anywhere people can find you, Is there maybe a website to the restaurants, or where are you at in social media or anything like that?
You can find the best place to find me is hit me on Instagram, 86 Vinny, 86 Vinny. And then I can connect you to some of the restaurants if you're interested. We have all of our websites here like Feeney's HK, uh, www.feeneyshk.com, postofpublicohk.com. It's so I can. It's probably better if I just you DM me and I can shoot you some info.
Because
So
I know you post a lot of food related stuff on your Instagram, so I'm sure there's
mm,
a lot of people that would be interested in following that. But all right, well, Vinny, I really this has been awesome. We'll
great,
have
dude.
to do it again sometime. This has been a blast.
Love it.
So thanks for making the time, everybody out there. We're actually going to film 2 shows on Tuesday, so be ready for those. We're going to promote who those guests are. I don't want to reveal that just yet, but everybody out there, keep your heads up, and until next time, let freedom ring.
Thanks, dude.